Write him down nicely.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November 9th meeting of the Municipal Land Use Borough of Riverbridge. Call the meeting to order at 7:35, and we'll leave flag and salute. Mr. Grasso.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice, there you go.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, by email to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of the schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. I would like to remind everybody, all the members of the public, that we have 3 fire exits. One to the side, and one in the back. In addition, we are being recorded by both audio and video for purposes of creating a record during the public portion of this meeting. If any member of the public wishes to be recorded or heard, they need only identify themselves by stating their full names for the record, and they may make a statement or ask any questions they would like. I see you redid this, Mayor.
I didn't do that.
Oh, well done over.
I only read like abbreviators.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Mignon?
Here.
Councilman Freda? Mr. Arakelian?
Here.
Ms. Boland? Here. Dr. Gerwitz? Mr. Merman?
Here.
Mr. Grasso?
Here.
Mr. Monroe? Mr. Caslin?
Here.
Mr. Craig?
For the record, we have a quorum.
And just recognize that Councilman Crater was out for notice.
Yes, and he was excused. Thank you. As was Mr. Monroe.
And Mr. Craig.
Yep. Okay. All right, first order of business is the historic element resolution. Everybody should have a copy here. You should have also gotten a copy on your email. Looked pretty cut and dry to me, Mayor.
Yep.
Anybody on the left side, any questions, comments? Right side?
None.
Okay, at this point, I'll take
I got it. Motion?
we'll take a motion to approve the historic element.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm sorry, the movement was
That was Mr. Caslin and Mayor Mignon.
Caslin.
And we'll do a roll call on this.
Mayor Mignon?
Yes.
Mr. Arakelian?
Yes.
Mr. Boland? Yes. Ms. Boland, sorry. Dr. Gerwitz? Mr. Merman is ineligible. Mr. Grasso?
Yes.
And Mr. Caslin?
Yes.
Motion passed. Very good. Hopefully we'll be all good with that now. The next application is Tariq K, 646 Lee Avenue, block 1002, lot 54. And this is for just completing this right now.
Okay.
Okay. State your name.
Yes, Jacqueline Derminio, Ruben and Domback for the applicant.
And you are an attorney?
Yes.
Okay.
Apologize. I have to apologize for the reason I was tardy and rushing in here. I don't quite know where the error happened, but I actually noticed for 8 o'clock, and that's why we were running late.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have my proof past date of service and publication, which I see the notice time is late, later than 7:30. I must have been working on an old notice and missed the timing.
We could probably start and just make sure we carry over to 8 o'clock, or you want to?
I think if we want to proceed based on this, which I think we can, I think we have to wait until 8 o'clock. That's what I would.
I regret, but I agree with
We can do the completeness.
To do the completeness
Yeah.
portion, yes,
Okay.
correct.
So let's go for the completeness. Come on,
That's all right.
have a seat, relax. Sir, state your name, please, and address for the record.
My name is Tariq bin Ok. It's pronounced Ok. Everybody says okay, but I'm okay with it because everybody calls me Mr. Okay. And some people, they don't believe me, and I show my license, I'm okay, so, yeah.
What a great last name.
Thank you, thank you. That means arrow, actually. And my address is 364 Lee Avenue, River Edge, New Jersey, and I just moved in 2 years ago. I'm happy to meet with you guys.
Welcome to town.
Thank you.
Why don't you give us a brief explanation of what you're looking to do here?
Oh yes, Mr. Oak lives on an unusual property in River Edge. It technically has 3 front yards, peninsula. It's on Howland, Fenway, and Lee Avenue. As a result of this, he has very minimal space that he can actually fence in to provide a safe area for his children to play and a private area for his family to entertain within the ordinance. So we're looking to fence in a portion of the Lee Avenue technical front yard to provide a greater space for the children to enjoy and provide a safe space. And the fence would be 6 feet high, and it's a solid fence.
Mr. Skurbitz, our zoning official.
I just need clarification where you want to have your 6-foot fence, because the permit that I approved was color-coded, so I knew what I approved and what I couldn't get.
Yeah.
I think the board would like to see that also.
I have a survey that's in color. I have the pieces. Provided to you in black and white.
Right, well,
I think we want to know that.
We wanna know where-
will, but in the other meeting.
Yeah, it's really up to you. I know at the last meeting, you wanted to make sure you understood exactly where
Yeah,
it
well,
was going for completeness
This
purposes.
this
so-
is only for completeness.
Correct.
we want to make sure that we have the proper...
I can provide it to you now, or I can provide it to you.
No, why don't you give it to us now?
Okay.
And then we'll mark it and go through everything we need to when we actually start the hearing.
Thank you. Mr. Skurbitz? So what you have marked in yellow is what has been, what you deem to be
I did not
in
prepare
accordance?
this plan, however, I'm assuming the yellow is a 6-foot fence that you want to put up.
Yes.
Almost all of it needs a variance, about 15 to 20 feet towards the rear of the house, be permitted by ordinance, but the remainder, which is probably 85% of the fence, would need variance.
Correct. It's my understanding that the ordinance states that a 6-foot fence can't exist beyond the front line of the structure in any front yard.
Mr. Skurbitz, with this, are you satisfied that the application is complete and can be heard at 8 o'clock?
Yes, I think this is an accurate representation that the report can use for...
Any questions from the
Yeah,
board?
I do.
Mayor?
Mrs. Skurbitz, the configuration that's on the new survey is very different than the one we had last week. And this one has sections of 3 foot and 6 foot. Are we clear as to what's there, what was there, what they're proposing?
It is different. What is there, from what I can tell on this, that you just handed out, it's just 2 portions of the fence that are existing?
Yeah.
Or did you erect the fence that I permitted? No. So you did not erect that?
No, I'm sorry. He did when he first moved in, he erected a fully conforming fence that surrounds the area possible in the backyard. A portion of that is going to be removed and then used to extend the fence to its proposed
So
condition.
your plan does not show the current fence, it just shows a portion of a stockade and a chain link, not a solid on the fence.
That's correct.
And you're going to take the fence down that was erected by approval previously?
Maybe Mr. O can talk here. Are you planning to keep this corner of the fence here?
Yes, we will keep the one that we permitted. We're just gonna open, remove maybe 2 fences on the side.
This is all gonna go on at a regular meeting. You know, it's still confused. We're going to go ahead.
You know what, from there, point it toward us,
Okay.
or if you want to stand up and hold it up.
Yeah. Okay, basically, this is the front of the house, and this is the back of the house, and we got permitted 6-foot fence on the back of the house,
Correct.
and it is already here.
It's in place
So
right
we're not
now.
gonna remove the fence on the back, but we're just gonna remove the side of it,
Mhm.
and then we're gonna extend that towards the yellow
Mhm.
lining.
And according to this sheet today that was handed out, this drawing, with the yellow line is gonna come down your property line on Lee Avenue to the front building line and over to the front building line. Is that correct?
Side actually, because it doesn't go over in front of the building. Like
It's
she
gonna
said,
meet,
a
it's
rear
going to
fence.
meet the northwest corner of the building.
Yes, although the address says Lee Avenue, yeah.
I'm aware of that, okay. So that's what you're proposing.
Yes.
This handout, this exhibit is what you're actually proposing, and these other drawings are meaningless?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Satisfied?
Partially?
For now?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else on the board?
Yeah, I'm going back to the original one still. You know, I know it's not, but what's this question mark, what goes on your markup?
Yeah, that's either Nicole or my question mark, how high do you want that fence? We did not know at the time, as you know.
But when we issue the permit, don't we have a very clear representation of what we're going with the permit?
Yes, we do, and it's the color version, the original version that we marked up, here's what is approved, with yellow and orange, different ones.
Wait, now I'm confused, there's a fence over here?
I think we need better coordination with the building department then, because that would have been very helpful for us to see
The
that.
frontage is on Lee. Correct? The
The
front of your house.
entrance to the house is actually
On the
facing
Three
the
front
Fenway.
yards.
Fenway.
Well,
Where it
the
says-
front door is
Facing
on
Fenway.
Fenway.
Mhm.
You have an unusual corner lot, as you stated, which has three frontages, okay, which, is, I guess, very unusual. Again, looking at what you gave us tonight, there is a 6-foot high currently erected, and on the rear yard facing Howland. On your handout, you don't, or it's not clear to me what happens to that piece that's erected there.
Facing Howland?
They said they're gonna keep that.
You're gonna keep that, but
They
it
took-
doesn't
they took
show.
this, there's a piece over here that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I said, you don't know what's here, what's not here, that's.
See,
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We just want to make sure that we can hear this.
Well, that's what we're trying to get to, we're trying to make sure
Well-
we understand what's going on here.
The
Before you-
existing fence comes to the southeast corner of the house and out to the rear lot line, and encloses what's permitted in that rear area. With
Right.
the new configuration, it'll go from the southeast corner of the house to the rear lot line, across and continue around onto Lee Avenue, onto the property line at Lee Avenue, following the property line, and then jogging back in so it doesn't come any more forward than the northwest corner of the existing structure,
Here, here,
which
here.
would put it
Yes.
in front of the house. So it's not coming in front of the house on that end.
And that's the only fencing that we're discussing tonight, that you
Yes.
requested?
Yes.
Okay. No
that-
front yard?
What is?
Well,
no,
technically, Lee
Well,
Avenue
no
is the
front yard on Fenway?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that question mark on the old drawing where it says approved height, and it looks like it's pointing towards a hard line that goes all the way around from Howland to Fenway, that's not a fence.
6 feet.
There, that's just a
No.
question, okay, all right, that was my confusion,
That's
okay.
not a fence.
That's another story.
And I believe that the survey with the representation for what they want to do tonight predates the fence installation that we approved in June.
Got it. Yeah, it looks like January 2016.
But what did you approve in June then? I'm still not clear.
I approved this boxed-in area here for 6 feet,
The whole three
just right behind
sections?
the house.
But the 3 sections, I'm asking.
Of the rear yard?
Because the other survey shows a fence that was there previously. So was this one pre-existing and removed, or was this still there, and then, because there were stockade fence and a chain link, so,
That was pre-existing, that's not what we approved.
no, what I'm saying, that he took both of those down and you approved, or to put it
Correct.
three-way.
Yes, what he installed has replaced the stockade and the chain link. And what I approved is immediately behind the house, 6 feet
Folks,
high.
one at a time, please.
And I also approved 3 feet in front where you want to put the 6 feet. So I approved 2 sections of the fence.
However, Mr. Oak, only thing constructed is the 6 feet, yeah.
Behind the house.
Behind the house. Completely, right now, there's a completely conforming 6-foot fence that boxes in the rear portion of the house.
Which was approved by the building department.
Because it was completely conforming.
Okay, that was the 6/19,
Yes.
6/9/16, okay. All right. Okay. And was there any action taken on a 3-foot in the front yard? Yards.
I approved that they wanted to install a 3-foot, almost square section to the north of the house. So they apparently did not install that. No. I did approve that if you wanted them installed.
Would that be the dotted line shown on this other sketch?
No, just the original sketch with
The 3-foot following the property line?
3 feet in circles with 2 arrow points. That's what I approved.
Okay, let's see if I can,
What was happening in this corner then? Like, you had a 3-foot along basically the curb line, that's what I'm seeing. And then he also had this other 3-foot piece going north and then east. They're not connected, it's kind of a strange configuration.
It was an option for him, and he didn't, he rented the 3-foot section.
Mr. Oakwood, there's no 3-foot fence on your property.
No, there is no 3-foot fence on my property.
no, that's correct.
Just to be clear, on this new piece, you have this yellow outline. That's what you're looking for.
Well, that's
correct?
why I said, this is gonna have to be their exhibit.
So that, everything else is really,
This is
because
gonna
this
have
is
to
what
be
he's
their
looking to
exhibit.
do.
Yeah, and what we could
Enjoy
do
it.
is we can have them testify that they are agreeing to forego any prior approvals or permits, et cetera,
Sure.
for any existing fencing, starting from scratch, and this is what you're proposing to do. If
This just
that's
makes it
something
easy.
you're willing to do, just
This
to
is what he
make a
wants.
clean slate.
And this is what we'll discuss during the meeting.
Well,
And anything else that he's,
if I may, the southern portion and the eastern portion of the fence that exists is to remain.
Mhm.
yeah,
Right, so he's not gonna knock that down, he's just adding.
right,
on
you're
to
just
an
looking to
extension.
add this additional fencing.
Yeah, this is what's being added, and
If this was 3 feet, he would not be here, is that correct, Mrs.
I
Skirvich?
understand.
Correct.
But because he's going 6 feet, that's why it's,
Anything above 3
all right,
feet,
okay.
and within 25 feet of the intersection of the Rosalie and the Fenway, it's just below the school.
Okay. All right, we're good for completeness, gentlemen?
Assuming that this handout tonight represents officially of what
So you
is
said,
proposed, okay. So then you're gonna have to mark that as an exhibit.
We'll do that during the hearing.
Yeah. Right.
anybody on this side?
And disavow all these others.
Mr. Skirvich, anything else? Have a motion for completeness?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Mignon?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
Yes.
Ms. Boland?
Yes.
Mr. Merman?
Yes.
Mr. Grasso?
Yes.
Mr. Castle?
Yes.
Okay, so now what's?
And I'm sorry, so that, the motion and the second was?
I did.
Motion was Mr. Caslin, second was Mr. Merriman.
Okay, now we just need to hang out for about 8 minutes or so.
Do I have a motion to
8
close
o'clock.
the public, the
Workshop
working
session.
session of the municipal land use?
So moved.
Mr. Caslin? Was that-
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? See you in about 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
While we're off the record, anybody have anything, any questions or anything that's been going on? Mr. Oak? Waited long enough. It is 8 p.m. It is now 8 p.m., and we're starting the regular portion of the
River Edge Municipal Land Use. During the work session, we've already taken care of the flag salute and the call to order. So we'll go right into new business, which is Tariq Oak. Last name spelling okay. 364 Lee Avenue, Block 1002, Lot 54. This application is for a 6-foot fence extension. Good evening.
Good evening. Jacqueline Darminio, Reuben and Dombeck, attorney for the applicant, Mr. Tariq Oak. This application, as you learned during completeness, involves a very unique and unusual property in the city, in River Edge.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
She's asking a quick question. Go ahead.
In the case that this property actually has 3 front yards, it's not a corner lot, it's actually a peninsula. As a result of that, and the pressure that 3 front yards puts on a lot, Mr. Oak has very limited space in the rear of his property to provide a safe and private space for his family to enjoy. And we're here today to expand that space by utilizing the property that's fronting on Lee Avenue, which is technically within the front yard. Mr. Oak is looking to construct a 6-foot fence in that front yard to provide, again, the privacy and space for his family to enjoy the use of the property that right now is frankly open to anyone who might be driving down the 3 roads which surround it. I have with me the applicant, Mr. Oak, who will testify. He's my only witness today. And unless there are any initial questions for me, I would like to proceed.
Anybody?
Phone questions?
Have any questions from the beginning? Okay.
Raise your right hand. Swear the testimony you're about to give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
You state your name and spell your last name for the record.
My name is Tariq bin Oak. It's T-A-R-I-K-B-I-N, last name O-K.
Mr. Oak, will you provide your address for the record?
364 Lee Avenue, River Edge, New Jersey, 07661.
And is that the subject property?
Yes,
And what is your relationship to the property?
I own the place.
And who do you live there with?
My wife and 3 kids.
And what is the age of your children?
I have twins, daughter, 5 years old, and my son is 6.
Wow. How long have you owned the property?
Almost 2 years.
Tell me about the property.
Like you said, you name it peninsula, but I call it weird corner house. We just fell in love with the house, not the corner, but we were actually not thinking to buy any house on the corner, but that's what happens when you fell in love with a house. And we love the town, actually. We used to live in another town, so we love it. We literally love the house and the town.
Now, you said it's strange. How many streets does it front on?
1, 2, 3.
And can you name them for the board?
Lee Avenue, Fenway, and Howland.
And why are we here today?
Because, like we discussed earlier, I wanted to put privacy and for my children's safety, a fence, a 6-foot fence. And I don't know much about the law, but originally when I first moved in, I tried to put the fence and they told me I need a permit. This is my first house that I own. I went to the department and he was very helpful to me, and then he said, listen, you can do this and that, and not that, not this, and then that's why we marked down everything. But I didn't want to delay the privacy and use of the land for my kids. That's why we put the fence, 6-foot fence up wherever we allow by the law. And then I said maybe in the future, they apply, I learned variance. For the variance, that's what we heard.
Now, Mr. Oak, I am showing you a document. Can you identify it, please?
That's my property survey.
And what's the date on that survey?
Right here, it is January 26, 2016.
What's it come out here?
Guess we're gonna mark that.
And establishing. And is there a revision date on that survey? What's the latest revision date?
Yes, the revision date is 5/20, I don't have my glasses with me, 5/27/2016.
Now, to the best of your understanding, does this survey accurately reflect the location of the structures on your property and the location of the proposed fence?
Yes,
I would like to have this marked into evidence as A1. And Mr. Oak, is this your intended configuration for the proposed fence?
Yes,
And what color is the intended configuration in?
white. Oh, the line is yellow.
Yes.
I thought you were asking about the fence.
Okay. I'm also going to introduce one more document that I'm don't know if it's in the board history already. Do you recognize this document?
Yes,
What is it?
this is the fence that I have on my back company.
This was provided to you by the fencing company?
Yes,
And can you identify which fence on the piece of paper is the fence you're proposing?
the page 4 on the upper left side.
And is this document in color?
The fence color is white, yes.
Okay, is the document in color?
Yes.
If I'm...
Please.
Mr. Oak, the fence that you said was on the upper left side of the document, does that fairly and accurately represent the fence that exists on your property and what you're proposing to place?
Yes.
I asked that this be marked as A2.
Okay. And just for clarification of the record, the fence at the top left hand, it is the one named Oklahoma, correct?
Now that we're done with the formalities, why don't you describe to us what you're proposing and why?
Okay, like I said, literally I wanted to space for my children, not for myself. My children are still young and they're very active. I don't meet with them, especially my twins. And even though we are out there with them, because they are three children, I'm afraid that if I put, if I don't put any fence, they might go away. You know, the streets are running by the cars, and that's why I said let me try to put a 6-foot fence around my property so that they can play safely, and that's why.
And is there a reason why why you believe a 3-foot fence would be insufficient to meet your goals?
Oh, this is what I'm thinking. I don't know if it is, I'm thinking they might throw something over it. Like I said, maybe you think that I'm exaggerating, but my twins are very, very active. And I also think they might climb on it. And instead of me thinking if they're going to be safe with the 3-foot, I said I might as well put 6-foot and then be safe.
And the space that you have today that you could permissibly box in, do you feel that's sufficient space given the size of your lot to provide an outdoor space for your family?
You mean the one currently we have?
Yes.
No, because we put one umbrella and a table like this and a chair, and that's about it. So the children are running around, and sometimes they're falling because they're just crashing to the umbrella or the table. That's why we need a little bit more space. I'm not trying to be greedy. I don't want to be surrounding everything, but I just want a little bit area for my kids to play around. And I think that is the best spot to be, not to bother anybody, because all the others are literally like the Holland Avenue is the main road, and the other one is also. The best one is, I think, it's my thinking, is the Lee Avenue side, and that won't bother anybody.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, let's get some clarifications on the record, since we're officially in the regular meeting. Currently we have a 6-foot high solid vinyl fence, enclosed, 3-sided, enclosing the rear yard, currently out there now. And briefly describing that, it goes along your east property line and returns to the northeast corner of the building, and it also returns to the southeast corner of your dwelling, currently.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And that apparently was approved by the building department last June. I believe you had June 9th last year?
I think, yes.
Yeah, okay, June 16th, yeah, that was last year. On my calendar, all right. Now, so that is installed, and it was approved by the borough. Fine. Now, you're proposing to alter and extend that installation. And the alteration would be the removal of the portion that returns from the rear yard to the northeast corner.
Yes.
You're taking that away, yes.
Is going to be, you're proposing to remove that. From that rear yard corner, northeast corner that exists, you're proposing to extend a 6-foot high fence that follows your rear property line, which makes a jog to the east and then returns to the Lee Avenue frontage. At which point, according to your Exhibit A1, you're proposing to extend the same 6-foot solid vinyl fence along the Lee Avenue property line to a point where you're then going to turn south and intersect near your dwelling at roughly the corner of the driveway and the dwelling.
Yes.
For record purposes, the Howland Avenue is going to remain the way it is currently.
Yes.
Okay. Now that we got that understanding. Now, so that is what you're proposing and requesting from this board, the 6-foot vinyl which you demonstrated in your Exhibit A2. All right. Your property along the east boundary line enjoys very dense and high evergreens. Would you really need 6-foot high there? Your rear yard, the whole rear yard has some of the tallest evergreens in that area. Very dense also.
Yeah.
You mean along the property that intersects with lot 53?
If you, along your rear yard, as currently, where that 6-foot high is, currently, if you went straight out to Lee Avenue, there's a large evergreen buffer there.
Is there an evergreen buffer here?
Yeah.
But even more so,
They are, yes.
They're very,
Yes.
they're
No,
almost
property were a lot.
2 stories tall.
but
Yes, they are tall, but they're also old, and there are
Okay,
spaces
so
between them, and the deers are.
My point is, would not a lower fence there be more appropriate just to keep the children from exiting through those evergreens?
Like, trying to understand.
How tall of a fence would you need at that point to prevent your children from going through the evergreens?
Oh, you're saying like
fence.
if it is, okay, then the fence and the tree will help to stop the children not go over. Originally, they might not even think about going over the 3-footer. It's just my mentality. But the cosmetic and the look for it from 6 foot and then dropping to the 3 foot and then go around 6 foot again, it's not going to...
We'll get to that point. So, my whole point is, at least along the east property line, I don't really think you need a 6-foot high fence for retaining your children.
If I may, a 6-foot high fence may not be appropriate for retaining the children, but again, in terms of impact on the neighbor, as an aesthetics of having a fence that jogs, I believe he has a point here that that's
The jog to me is meaningless.
that jogs from 6 feet drops to 3 towards the rear
I'm
of the
looking
building.
at the practicality of what we're proposing along that east line.
Again, if are those evergreens on your property?
The big trees, I believe.
Yeah,
Yes, they are, because the fences will-
they're up to the attic level, basically.
No, not that much.
I'm looking at the survey, and it seems like there's a boundary dispute. because lot 53 is claiming it's here, and then I'm assuming their deed says the line's here. So you have this disputed area in the middle.
Yeah, that's very weird shape, and my neighbor, we talked about it, and actually she planted a tree on the corner right there, and I promised her that I'm gonna keep that, because it's in my property, but it's a weird shape, so I'm just gonna keep it, and I'm gonna go around it. I don't know if I was clear.
The property is showing the hard boundary lines or the boundary lines that are understood to be the existing boundary. There does appear that there may still be a gore in between the two properties, meaning a deed overlap. My client believes that that's been resolved with his neighbor, but that property line, the one to the left of that hatched area, is his recognized property line.
Okay, so his deed is recorded at that 8-9, page 86, that's what
Yeah.
his...
Alright, so let me get this in my head here.
We're not
The
arguing-
survey of the property that I have by Morgan, dated January 26th of 16, shows, as the mayor says, a different condition than what you're showing on his. So, he's got a surveyor with the same survey that has a chain link fence in two different parts compared to your boundary line.
Well, there's two revisions.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's revised. Yeah. What have we got here?
This is the original,
And
and
this
this
is
has
the...
two revisions.
But I
Okay,
don't
got
think-
it, okay.
Let me just,
I got it.
we're not using the original paperwork at all anymore, right?
No.
This is the
But they're just
the
revising.
only document that matters.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And again,
Okay.
I understand that there appears to be a deed dispute on the survey. We're utilizing that property line for the purposes of this fence. We're not invading the board intentionally.
All right.
So it's
Okay, so-
whether or not there is a board between the two properties. We're,
Okay.
at this point, not arguing that
So,
lot.
as the mayor pointed out, that original survey has been amended twice, and which is now your exhibit A.
Yeah.
Okay. A1.
The proposed fence that you have that runs along Lee Avenue,
Mhm.
how close is that going to be to the edge of the property line or
It's
to
on
the
it.
sidewalk?
It's proposed to be on the property line, I believe, under the code it has to be within a foot of the property line.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sturgis?
Is there
Clear.
a sidewalk there?
Yes, there is a spacing of grass and then a sidewalk that doesn't belong to the property.
So it looks like about 10 feet from the property line to the curb line?
And then there's more grass, yeah.
All right. So we really didn't clear up my question about the fence height along your screening, along the east.
Again, I understand what you're saying, that trees will stop children. I think that at the same time, there is a legitimate argument that it would actually be more harmful for the neighbors visually to drop to a 3-foot fence at that point. And part of the negative criteria is to consider the impact that it has on the neighbor, and I believe continuing a 6-foot fence would have
Okay.
less of an impact than dropping at 3 feet at
So
that point,
you're-
until we
you're-
require a variance.
Let me pick up what you just said. You're concerned about the look of the fence with the neighbors.
Well, it's to be taken into consideration, and a
Okay.
6-foot fence, not only is it something that my
Mhm.
client would prefer, because aesthetically for him it's
I
an
understand.
improvement, but for the neighbor, again, you're looking at the negative impact, and here
Mhm.
you are applying, does permitting the variance at that point provide a better impact for the neighbor than dropping at 3 feet at that
All
point?
right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Look,
may I?
sure.
And it just hit me right now. What if, they will climb on top of that fence and then to the tree? So that brings up another safety reason.
All right.
So,
So, based on that, you're really asking for all over a 6-foot high fence?
the yellow line,
Yeah,
yes. if it is
regardless of
possible.
where it is, all right.
If it is possible.
Let's move, let's continue on now. For your information, I live in a neighborhood beyond 200 feet. I've been there since 1984. so I kind of know this
Yes, I
area.
figured, you know,
So I consider myself a neighbor. All right. A 6-foot high fence, basically along the Lee Avenue property line, is not conducive to my thinking from a visual and aesthetic standpoint. If you want to maintain a 6-foot high fence for the reasons you stated, then I would say, as a neighbor, I would say that the setback line that's shown on your drawing along Lee Avenue would be more appropriate.
Mr. Mervyn, can I just put two questions on the record? You said that you do not live within 200 feet, correct?
Beyond 200 feet, about a block and a half away.
Okay, and you do feel that you can render a determination or review this application impartially and...
That's correct. So, what I'm saying is, if you really want 6 foot high, I think a more appropriate location along the Lee Avenue side would be where the setback line is.
If I could have a moment to discuss with my client?
Sure.
And
Yeah,
so before I do that, if I
No,
might...
no, sorry, let us...
I'm sorry, I was going to say, before I do that, if I might hear that there are any other comments by the board before I discuss that.
I had a couple questions. I'm presuming you're putting a gate on the front where that walkway is, coming around the side?
yes, that's the...
Are there going to be another gate on the other side?
On the next
on
to
the-
it, there is a 2-door gate, so if any low machine wanted to go...
All on the far side? Or is there anything, I guess I'm...
Here. I don't know how to describe
So
it.
you're worried about...
Well, no, I'm not worried about it, I'm just trying to get a visual. So, if you're looking from the front of your house, the fence you're proposing to the left,
Left, okay?
right? You'll have a gate there because there's a
There will be a
walkway.
gate,
Then you
yes.
said there's a double gate next to that?
Yes.
Okay. And there's no gate on the other side of the house?
No.
The house side, okay.
No.
The overhang that's shown there, is that just an overhang, or is there a door coming out that side of the house?
There is a door, it goes into the kitchen. That's the reason why I wanted to put the fence over there, so the children might
So you
go
have-
out from the kitchen and then go back around the house.
So then you have the front door, there's a side door, and then you have the one coming out of the back.
Back, yes, correct.
Do you have any anticipation of adding more impervious area within here, like expanding the patio or putting a pool
No.
or anything like that?
No, my property is beautiful, so I'm trying my best, and a lot of money for the lawn, so, no.
Okay, that's all I have.
Just a quick question, just to clarify the mayor's question. So the gates would be on the portions of the proposed fence facing Fenway?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ms. Bowen?
Well, you were asking about other members of the board. I sympathize with the 3 front yards, but I was going to make the same suggestion that if it at a minimum have to be put back to that setback line, as far as I'm concerned, to be considered for 6 foot high, so close to the front, to the roadway.
And unless there's additional comments,
I just have one question. Okay.
I think just driving by, it's gonna look very unusual to have this 6-foot-high
that's an
fence.
unusual lot.
It is an unusual lot, but I don't think it's gonna be aesthetically pleasing at all. People are gonna drive by and comment like, it's almost gonna be the point of looking ridiculous, in my opinion.
Can I ask if it would at all be possible to stretch that a little bit if we put landscaping in front of the
No, you're getting it.
fencing? Which would break up visual and potentially
That
size.
yeah, I was going to get to that. That would immensely soften the high fence. And I would suggest evergreens, obviously, minimum 4 foot high.
Well, they won't be able to do
Where
evergreens.
Nobody's talking
Only if
about
they
that.
move it back.
Where are you assuming you're moving the fence line?
I'm assuming at the setback.
Okay, I don't think that's what they're
Well, that's,
proposing.
yes, that wasn't my question, was if it would be possible to earn my client some additional space if we broke up the line with maybe come part way back and put evergreens in front of it. I'd have to talk to him to see what was acceptable.
If Mr. Scurbus can answer this, and I think, I don't remember what part of Howland is, but there is something like this on Howland, and it does not look very appealing. As you're coming, if you're heading west on Howland, there's one lot with a house, and a whole big high fence, and then a house.
Yes,
Is that because it's a through lot?
that is correct.
Okay.
We treat it like just a regular.
But did they get a variance then to have the fence
They
there?
do not need a variance. I had a legal interpretation several years ago because there's other properties similar to through lots along Kinderknack where the front of the house faces away from Kinderknack. And a 6-foot fence would not be in violation of the ordinance because we treated that as a backyard since it's a through lot, different than a corner lot. And Howland was the same, then going back about 10 years.
Yeah, well, I think it's a grayish, and it's, that one is not appealing. It looks, that's very unappealing, that one. You know, I would suggest maybe whatever you're gonna put on that side, if you were maybe to look at one of the other options, maybe have a little more open, like, that's the one right under, with a little lattice, you know, so it looks a little more open. I think, you know, I'd be comfortable with something like that and letting it go a little closer that way. I would agree with the rest of the board that if we had a 6-foot fence along the property line, I think it's gonna be a little imposing when you come down the street.
I have one question.
If they were, let me just,
Go ahead, please.
if they were to agree to do the lattice up top, could we give them this?
Well, certainly if you do the lattice and maybe do some landscaping and sort of push it back, maybe that could
Well,
work.
what is a little bit?
Well, you got, this is
Right now-
36 feet, correct? From where
Which-
this,
I believe this is 38, is the setback to the house.
To the house, with that,
so
it's a
we,
25-foot building setback.
so we gave them another, if we gave them from this 25-foot line here, to say, split the difference,
No,
or maybe 8 more feet.
But you don't wanna make it impractical either for him.
Right, I mean, you
need
want
to-
to give them a little bit of.
What I'm saying,
he's
like,
looking to do
if
here.
you
He's
put
trying
him
to
on
make
the
a
setback, if you
backyard.
put him on the setback line, he really isn't gaining much more space than he
Right.
has now. So that, well, but they wouldn't be, because right now they have that little rectangle, they just be adding this little triangle piece.
Well, I'm just thinking, take this line here, and maybe give them another, so from here to here is 25, so maybe give them, if you gave them 7 or 8 feet, you'd come across right here, you'd still have that buffer, he could put some greenage in front of it, which would screen it a little bit, plus it would have the lattice up top
houses,
to give it a little bit more open.
And follow the.
And it gives him the
curve.
backyard that he needs, because that's what he's ultimately trying
Yeah.
to achieve, is a backyard for his kids,
This is
because
25.
they don't have one.
If you want 5 feet, which is now 20.
Is there any sort of, what
And
is
then come
along the line for lot 55?
Yeah.
Is there any, I know the survey doesn't show up, but
Well, let me ask you something, I know you need to speak to your client on it, but would he be willing to switch the fence design to something a little bit more?
I have to ask him.
I just want to ask if you want to take
I
2
don't know what the
minutes.
price difference is, and I don't know if he's aware of the price difference, so I have to
I
take
can't
a
imagine
moment
it
and
being
ask
much
him.
different, but.
Before you consult, I've got an alternate.
Okay,
Right now, we're showing the 25-foot setback along Lee Avenue. And my previous comment was locating the fence along that setback line. So my alternate is, instead of being 25 feet, we came 20 feet. So gave you an extra 5 feet. You ran that along Lee to what was where you were going to intersect on Fenway. Take
Put a
that
foot.
same 20-foot back until you hit the corner point of your property, and then go over to that corner.
you're suggesting 5 feet in front of the setback line,
Correct.
and
And just draw it completely across to where the yellow line is now.
Right.
yes,
And that would give you're only losing, well, at 5 feet, you're losing 20 feet.
20 feet.
if you came here, I could show you on the drawing.
No, I'm
You
gathering what you're
understand?
saying. I'm also
Okay.
trying to understand, before I go with my clients, is
Right.
there was talk of landscaping, there was talk of changing of the fence.
Well,
I'm,
okay.
if we do that, would it be possible to keep the board on the regular fence and put landscaping in front of, I just need to know what I'm proposing to him.
Okay. So from the location standpoint, we just discussed 20 feet back from Lee Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Paralleling Lee Avenue, intersecting Lee Avenue, intersecting Fenway where you had proposed,
Mm-hmm.
and then intersecting your rear yard. If you want to clip off that little triangular corner for practical purposes, might be a good consideration. From a landscaping standpoint, and I'm speaking now for myself, not for the board, if you go with the solid vinyl, I want to see 3.5 to 4 foot high evergreens placed along that fence. If for some reason you agree to the Oklahoma one, which has the lattice work at the top, which is the one below what you had.
The one below, the diagonal mini lattice
Right.
topper,
I would say that the evergreens could be lower.
in white, correct, because that's being shown in tan in the picture.
Yeah, no, whatever
White
color you
sign,
want.
okay. So you're
You're not
saying the
dictating the
evergreen
color.
could be,
You're not dictating the color.
I'm sorry, you
No,
said
no,
the
the fence
evergreen-
color? No, no.
Okay, so you
As
said
long as it's
evergreen-
not pink.
Bright blue, you said
Okay.
the evergreens can be would be
Lower.
Okay, all right, if I may, again. I
No,
have
no,
to look to my
that's why I
client
said
now.
that. You can go have a conference.
Okay, if,
And we'll return at,
Can I just ask a quick question before we do that?
Sure.
Mr. Skirvich, I just want to make sure, there is an ordinance provision, section 416-29B2, that talks about fences within a radius of 25 feet from the corner of any intersection of 2 or more roads. In those situations, it cannot exceed 2.5 feet. So I just want to know if that intersection, I know we don't deal with that on the intersection of Fenway and Howland, is that an issue at the intersection of Lee and Fenway?
I wouldn't force it that way on an intersection of Fenway and Lee as an intersection. Forcing the fence to be reduced to 2.5 feet.
So that would be an additional variance then that
but
we would
only
need
if it's
to-
within a
No.
25-foot radius, yeah?
25 feet from the intersection of the two property lines. It's one variance. It's a fence that's 6 foot in the front yard. And
Okay, so, but it would need a variance from both of those requirements.
yes.
25 feet from the intersection.
I just couldn't tell what the radius measurement would be.
Now,
I don't,
and I think he's beyond 25.
I don't think he would touch, no.
You're showing a 30-foot setback on Fenway to the corner of the
Yep.
Yeah.
building. So if we look at that, I think you're probably going to be okay, you know?
Well, the
I mean, it curves a
25-foot
little
building
bit.
setback line is there, so.
Yeah,
It might
come in a short little piece,
No, it's crossing the plane, but I don't think that's...
No, that's, now, I failed to mention, since we're looking at landscaping, this 6 foot high that's existing along Howland currently, that's going to remain in your proposal. Several pieces of landscaping, evergreens there would be very nice, because right now it looks, doesn't look good, let's put it that way. And originally, your builder took down evergreens that were there.
Wow, you know.
But
it
I
was-
think
they were.
I know it was. Actually, they were trees.
Well, they were
I
hemlocks,
just
I
tied
think.
them with the net, like,
Yeah.
But that part's
because
permitted,
it's
though.
very hard to take.
Yeah,
it
but
down.
I'm asking for,
Okay, but I'm just saying, that's
no, I'm
fine,
not
right,
talking
right.
about the fence, I'm talking about, since
Yes.
we were on
Well,
landscaping,
Yes, but I'm saying that's,
several
he's not
pieces.
asking for anything.
All right, before we
I don't know if I wanna ask him tomorrow.
recess, Mr. Skirvich, you have anything you wish to add?
I do not.
Anybody else on the board have any kind of questions they wish to add? I'll make a motion to.
Well, I think the board should at least, everybody in general agreement with Dick is saying, or does somebody have other opinions? So you need to decide.
Is any-
I don't know if you want to open it to the public.
No,
yet.
that's right, because, you don't want to go back to sit, and then somebody says, no, let's do something else. So, you have, if you're,
All right, so-
if there's a consensus that we want to pull it back, we wanna have it screened a little bit better.
Type of fencing.
And the type of, so those are three variables we're all looking to change, if that's,
Is that what everybody's looking, is everybody in
That
agreement with
question.
that request, or?
What you just mentioned about the 2.5-foot fence at the intersection of two roads, does that have anything to do with the line of sight for someone traveling is gonna, if the fence was, is that the?
I mean, I don't know what
that
the
is-
intention was at the time the ordinance was
Probably.
drafted, but
I don't think that's an issue here.
Yeah,
I mean, not at that intersection.
Not at that corner of your house, in my opinion. The real site problem is at Fenway and Howland, and that's a horrific intersection.
But that corner is actually quite.
But you're not touching that, for the record, you're not touching that.
Anybody else have any
Spoke with
questions,
these.
any
Yeah.
comments,
very well.
any disagreements? with-
Oh, I agree with myself.
Very good.
You're always,
If you can't do that, I mean, come on.
I mean, I personally would be inclined to give them a couple more feet. That's just my personal opinion. 5 feet off the line is okay. I think maybe 8 feet off the line might be okay. But that's
Your opinion?
my
Definitely.
opinion. Right, well, that's what, we're such a great board up here, because we all have opinions. So, why don't you two discuss what you want to do and ask for, and then we convene.
Do you want to open?
Oh,
just for
let's just open
purposes
to the
of
public.
record?
Motion open to the public?
so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Being that there is nobody here from the public, I'll offer a motion to close.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, take a motion at this point to give them a 5-minute recess.
Sure. Second. Made and second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you.
Thank you.
For county office space?
No, it is.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a risk.
No.
All right, oh, well, there we go. There we go, what are your thoughts?
I'd like to take a motion at this time to open the meeting back up.
So made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, any abstained? Okay, we are now back open. It is now 9:50. Now, I do want to just say something real quick, and that is, as you know, you don't have to go along with anything that is said here. You can bring forward a final plan of whatever you wish and let the board vote on it in its merit. We've talked about some different modifications that you may want to consider, but by no meaning is it mandatory that one person or another person says something, you have to do what they say. All right, so I just want that to be clear, okay? All right, you can proceed.
My client is coming back. He's looked at his plans, he's looked at what he's trying to do to create an open space for his children to play in that's safe and private for his family. And what he's most comfortable with would be basically to meet halfway. He is proposing to bring back that fence line that's on Lee Avenue, so still the same line facing the Fenway, on Lee Avenue back to halfway between the setback line and the front line, providing 4-foot at planting, evergreens in front of it, and continuing that board-on-board fence that currently exists, solid fence.
We had 24 by 12 and a half.
That's what he's comfortable with. He thinks that it will provide, that the plantings will provide ample breakup of that front yard. They'll continue to grow. They'll flourish in that front area and continue and provide that visual barrier that the board is concerned about, while still providing ample space for his children to play. Again, this is an unusual lot. It is unusual. This is not a situation where we are at a corner lot and you have a second side where you can fence in and provide a safe space. They don't have a side yard at all. And it's not a small lot. There's ample space on this property for his children to play, but because this property is surrounded by roads, it's not safe. And what he's permitted to do by law really squanders the potential of his property and the potential enjoyment of his property. Now, we think, and I believe that this application with the modifications is reasonable. I think that it proposes, satisfies both the C1 and the C2 criteria. Here we have a hardship, we have an unusual lot. That's exactly what variances are created for, situations when you have lots where having to conform to the ordinance would result in a hardship because the ordinance isn't designed to deal with a lot like this. And this lot is simply not in your ordinance. There's nothing in your ordinance about a lot with three front yards. It deals with through lots, it deals with corner lots, it deals with conventional lots, but not one with 3 front yards. And again, once you've established that hardship, you look at the negative criteria, and that negative criteria is the impact on the neighbor. And that impact on the neighbor has to be substantially detrimental. Now, my client understands that a board-on-board fence, if you've seen it in town, it can be unattractive to be on the lot line, which is why he's amenable to pulling it back, and why he's amenable to breaking it up with landscaping, and he's ready to commit to that at this point. But he wants to provide enough space for his obviously very active children to make use of the property safely. And I said, again, that satisfies C2, the C2 criteria, where we're dealing with a public welfare situation, not just the children on the lot who might run into the street, but the cars and the people coming through that neighborhood who have to worry about children coming off this lot, utilizing an open front yard, and running into the street. Again, fencing the lot in, putting landscaping in front of it so that visual is broken, and we can leave it to the engineering department, the zoning officer, how many and what spacing you need there, or you can dictate it now. But 4-foot high planting is going to continue to grow. If you're talking about arborvitae, they'll continue to spread. And in the end, that fence is not going to be the concernable eyesore that you are concerned about. It's going to look very different from what you've seen in other parts of town, where the 6 foot is permitted on the lot line. So again, that's what we're proposing. I'd like, my client would like the opportunity to have a response to that before, because the most important thing to him is to provide a safe space for his children to play. But we think that that's a fair compromise between what a normal corner lot might have, what a through lot is permitted to have, which is fencing straight on the lot line, and this unusual situation that calls for variance here.
So you're arguing that this qualifies for C1 and a C2?
Or,
Well,
if
which
you
one
find
are you
that,
arguing?
I believe, okay, I believe that I am a lawyer, I'm arguing both. I believe that it satisfies both criteria. I believe that you're satisfying the hardship criteria clearly here. And if you don't, for some reason, buy that this is a hardship, which,
But
again,
ma'am, you're not a planner, so I don't know
no,
whether
but
we should be arguing.
I am an attorney.
Well,
I'm
you're not a
an
planner.
attorney at that. So
I don't know if you're giving testimony or if you're giving opinion, so that's...
I'm summing at this point.
Okay.
And I understand that there's pushback here, and if you ask me to choose, I can choose. But I believe that, again, it's not an either-or argument. I think the situation satisfies both criteria, C1 and C2.
So,
Because this is zoning
Are you
application,
complete
you can
with
put
your
this on record.
summation at this point?
I mean, people have additional questions for me.
Let me just, before we go here, I'd like to go back to Mr. Skirvitz now that there's a change. Do you have anything additional you want to add to this?
well, we're not done with that yet.
Let's listen to Mr. Skirvitz.
The attorney requested how many arborvitae or how to plant them. If she's asking me, I would recommend anywhere from 3 to 6 feet outside for arborvitae. It'll grow and it'll mesh.
Okay, you're in agreement to that?
Yeah, to create a visual wall, that's what you need to do.
It'll take a couple of years for this to work.
Anything else you want to add, Mr. Skirvitz?
Yes. The part of the fence along the fenway, where are you going to move that back to?
Right now, it's touching that corner of the house, and that's where we would keep it. We would
You're gonna
just keep
keep it
pulling
at
the
the
Lee
shoulder?
Avenue, yeah, just pulling the Lee Avenue in tighter, but meeting up with that
I just
line.
needed to know that for my clarification.
Right. If for some reason, it does not appear to me, if for some reason that is slightly within that 25-foot radius, we would be amenable to pulling it back so that we wouldn't have to drop suddenly to a 2.5-foot fence at that
Okay,
point.
I'll make a request of the applicant, should this application be approved with the conditions and changes that everyone agrees to, I want to see this submittal to me, and I want to see the changes, and I want to see a copy of the resolution
Okay,
before any, conversation.
okay.
Can I just clarify, you're proposing going completely parallel to Lee and intersect at that far, or are you gonna sort of angle it and then bring it into that other corner piece?
We're going to go parallel to Lee. My
So
client,
all the way to the upper,
so that it incorporates that jag in order to
that's
preserve
the
the lot
question,
line.
are you, yeah, so you are including, okay.
Could you show the board, hold
Yeah.
that up and show the board?
So it would intersect
I
with
can't see
the
that.
side, I'm sorry,
Could,
would you like me to step forward?
please,
So it would intersect with this side lot line, at lot 55 side lot line?
can I draw on here?
Sure,
So we're talking some distance between here
halfway.
to
So
be
it would
agreed upon, okay? And you're gonna come
No,
over to here, or
all the
straight
way,
That's what I
over,
asked,
all the
straight
way
across.
to
straight
the,
across.
yeah.
And you're gonna
In an
take,
effort to preserve
Okay.
that,
and you're going,
and
okay,
it's going to go, yeah.
right into this corner,
Mhm.
okay. All right. You
Why
wanna
don't you do me a favor?
show that to
Why-
the rest of the
yeah.
board? You show that, can you show?
Take that to everybody, please.
Okay, so come to here at some point and jag over there.
It's gonna be, yeah, like this, straight across and over. The distance.
Kind of like exactly
is
what
to
I
be
drew.
The distance is to be determined yet.
From this
Yeah.
distance
But not
between
engineer.
the setback line.
But see, but you have the, this one, I would argue, see what over here, what do you do with
Kind
that?
of,
You bring it close, and you start
exactly what I
having,
drew.
Yeah,
what do you do? So you'd have to bring it to the corner, or you figure out
Or
distance
go
between them.
here, and that's a dead area.
Or you
I'm
do
the
like, keep the
non-engineer.
jog on the outside, or do something like
They're all
that.
engineers, I'm the non-engineer.
And you're proposing 12 and a half feet from here?
yeah, that would be half.
Okay.
No.
And then I think what you were saying is if in fact, once we do the survey and redo the
We would
the
pull this
sketch,
line in to allow to not have to
if
drop.
in
I have
fact
it
that
right
was
here.
within the 20.
I don't
Okay.
believe it is, but I don't want to have to come back to the board.
Alright.
So gonna have to go to the bench, sir?
No, my clock is connected to
I
my
thought you were
phone,
saying
and it
7:38.
just text message. My wife sometimes texts me something, so that's what I check.
She said she knows.
Please come home.
Right, so we just have, I thought it was going to be
Oh, I
the
see.
last time.
Okay, now, that distance that you're proposing at 12 and a half feet, we still have to discuss that. But what style of fence are you coming back with?
We would continue the existing fence on the site, a solid fence.
Solid?
With the higher plantings,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to lower bushes in front of an open fence, open style fence with the
All right.
Is there a reason why he won't go to the open style fence?
privacy
Keep it solid, you have
concerns.
to bring
Just
it back.
wants, if he's gonna create a private area, it should continue to be.
I mean, those are pretty private. I mean, you really can't, unless somebody's gonna be leaping over the, nobody's gonna be looking through the lattice.
I mean,
Are you okay with this?
If it comes down to that, then I will be okay.
Before we had 20
Did
and...
you hear that?
No.
If it came down to a real issue, he would go to the lattice.
I'm not even saying that big lattice,
He's just
I would just have a
concerned-
small lattice,
He-
give it
yeah,
some.
Yeah, we can go with the one up top.
That's what we...
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what-
which is the real tight lattice, which you really, he was
It
concerned.
just gives it a little more visual,
Yeah,
breakup.
so if you're
no,
willing to do that, it
I
probably
do
would
have
give
to
us
ask,
a
would
little.
that be for the Lee Avenue and Fenway side versus the lot lines that cover the?
Correct.
Well, you don't wanna change it. You don't wanna have the one fence going along the one side and then go solid.
Well, he's got
He's got the
solid
solid in the back,
existing,
right,
so
so
we
it is
would
a
want to
change.
continue
We're asking
that
to change
side
the
yard.
Let me put it this way. For the new fencing along Fenway and Lee would be the lattice,
The Oklahoma.
the Oklahoma.
Oklahoma lattice.
The rear yard extension could be the solid,
Okay,
because there's no aesthetics there with the bushes, the shrubbery.
So adjacent to
You have to
lots
raise your hand, sir.
55
No,
and 56.
okay.
Just go through your
Is it
attorney.
possible?
Go ahead.
Because the original agreement with the fence company is to use the ones that they're gonna take off, which is about 2 to 3 fences originally. So on the new construction, they will use a couple of them, and then whatever you suggest.
so he's saying that
You're gonna
along
need
this line, you
Right,
could use
that's-
the solid fencing.
Solid
and then
fencing.
Oh, solid fencing on the, okay.
Yeah, on that side, yeah, back there.
On the rear property line, let's
Use
call it,
that.
the rear property line's
Lee,
6
okay.
foot solid.
Here, and
Okay.
then once you come across
Oh,
to the lead,
We're talking about Lee Avenue side, okay.
Along Lee and Fenway return,
here, that's where you.
6 foot
Okay.
high, Oklahoma, which has the lattice work.
The diagonal mini lattice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Now, you propose, I think the board originally proposed 20 foot and 5 foot from the setback,
Mhm.
and you're coming back with 12 and a half and 12 and a half.
Yes, halfway between,
Okay. Now,
providing ample space to plant arborvitae and planting.
how's about a compromise with 15 foot from Lee and 10 foot? So we got 2.5 feet difference kicking around here.
Explain that to me.
Okay, so he's saying, so we had asked for 12 and a half?
Right.
He's saying 10.
So an additional 2.5 feet.
It's all it is.
You're
Again,
losing
it comes
2.5
down to that,
Because
maybe
you
we
have the lattice, because you
He
have the
said yes,
lattice.
and then the lattice, and then the
And the
planting.
lower
But
planting.
then,
Could you
but
just
no, you have to,
repeat?
no, you gotta look at what the difference is what's gonna be the clearance between this corner and where you're putting the fence now. If you bring it that close, this becomes pretty useless. Why would you do that? You either bring it back to this corner, or you project it off and do something like that. And maybe you let them do this a little more like this, you could let them go a little closer on this side, because this will be pulled back on that side.
There is a practical way of doing it, and I'm not gonna dictate that.
No,
The purpose for protecting that corner is to protect the lot lines, as there has been confusion in the past. Establishing the lot lines with a fence will protect those,
So-
what you say.
Let me clarify that point. At that northeast corner,
Yeah,
new fence intersection along Lee, the intersection with the rear fence. That corner, whichever you figure that corner out geometrically, is up to you and your fence install.
okay.
Because you're dealing with some sharp angles in there, and from a practical standpoint, he might be telling you you're better off putting a small tangent. I'm gonna leave that for a field design.
Okay.
Okay, now, let me finish. I had said a compromise of 15 feet from Lee to the fence line, which gives you 10 feet to the setback. Okay, which is 2.5 feet difference.
Mhm.
On the Oklahoma, which is the lattice.
The Oklahoma with the, and I just want, because there's multiple things to say lattice, the diagonal mini lattice.
Well, you have, if you look at your...
well, I would let them select which one they would wanna buy.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
But we want something
You want
that's
an
open,
open
yes.
lattice style.
Right.
Yeah, we shouldn't be telling you what,
On the upper portion.
you understand the concept.
For that one, it looks like
Okay.
about 1 foot portion.
And landscaping wise, it would be along Lee and Fenway.
The only thing I have to, just before I start with the Fenway, is that there will be gates in the fence, so you can't put landscaping
I
directly in
understand that.
front. Okay,
Okay, you might have one near the corner.
okay.
All right, so, but, yeah, from a descriptive standpoint, it's along those two sides. And as I mentioned earlier, I would like to see, maybe 3 bushes along the one on Howland, because that is 6 foot high solid, and it does not look very pleasing.
There are roots over there, the tree roots.
Yeah.
I really wanted to do it, even if you don't tell me, because I really care about the look of the house.
Mhm.
But they said even one of them will cost me around $500 to $600 to remove the roots in order to put some bushes.
And then you
I would love to put bushes, because,
Well,
and instead of that, I put some, bed, you know, the bed.
why don't you come in front?
Or,
Not flower beds, like shredded, some.
Your other
I
option,
made a mulch, so,
your other option,
Yes.
instead of placing it directly at the fence where you're saying the old roots are,
right.
come forward closer to Howland to avoid the roots.
I would love to do it, but it will look weird, believe me. It's going to be right in the middle of the, I will do it, that's
You
no
don't
problem.
have to put them in a line, you could stagger them.
Or in between the roots, maybe two of them,
Okay,
agreed.
yeah, but we're gonna break up that
All right, but I'm not comfortable with this board asking to remove roots.
Oh, I
Because if
mean,
that tree comes down,
no, the whole
Right.
thing.
What
Only
if
the
the
roof.
condition is where possible on that Howland
I would say
area,
if that's, if
additional
it's
landscaping be
practicable, and then
provided
Mr.
just
Skirvich.
for evergreen bushes.
Okay.
we'll leave
Like
that
what
up
I
to
said-
Mr. Skirvich.
Yeah, I said, we'll leave
We'll leave that
it
up to you.
to the degree practicable, all right? So if it's impossible to do it, he doesn't need
For
to.
landscaping?
On that side.
On Howland side.
Good. Speaking of that, when you submit your final plan, I want to see the landscaping that you intend to install on the plan itself.
Okay.
Okay?
Just,
I got it.
once you get the
Resolution,
draw the
okay,
land
sir.
mark where you're going to talk to your landscaper, mark where you're going to put
I get
landscaping
someone
and what
to
you're
do
putting there.
Okay.
I'm sure you can.
Okay, all right, so let's just summarize this now.
Yes, please.
I believe that the setback is gonna now be, correct me if I'm wrong, 15 feet? Is that correct?
On Lee,
Make sure you get a
On Lee
consensus,
Avenue.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
10 feet from the
Mr. Chairman,
setback,
make
yes.
sure you have a consensus from the board before you make.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it straight so we know what to ask them. Because we've talked about so many
But you're asking
things.
them, but you haven't asked the rest of the board members if they're in favor of the 15. So you.
No,
so-
what I'd like to do is just get it on the record what they're asking, and then we can go around
Okay.
and do a final. Otherwise,
Well, I guess
we're
what
going back
everybody's
to square
asking.
one.
Or is asking this. and
All right, so it's 15 feet
From the lot line.
from the lot line. You're gonna screen with the lattice, you're gonna use the lattice fence, you're gonna screen it as requested by our zoning officer, correct?
Yes.
What else do you have there?
Okay, so I've got survey to be submitted with changes, copy of the resolution to Mr. Skirvitz, also showing the landscaping. I've got 4-foot high evergreens. That was something that Mr. Skirvitz has said, 3 to 6 foot center along, I guess, Lee and Fenway. What we don't have is Howland, yep, what we just talked about was evergreen trees along Howland. Again, with the advice of Mr. Skirvitz, where practicable, they will be permitted to put the solid Oklahoma fencing where the property line abuts lots 55 and 53, and I'm guessing also along Howland Avenue, since that's what's existing there. That's up to the board.
We're not proposing to take that down.
okay.
Okay, and I guess the only other question I have is what type of evergreen screening are we putting adjacent to lots 55 and 53?
Well, there's existing
Okay,
evergreen.
I got a correction on what you said. 55, 53 you mean, about 53?
Yep.
55.
Well,
55,
both,
got it,
both.
okay. You referred to Oklahoma as solid. Oklahoma is
Well,
lattice.
there's
No,
different
no,
versions of
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Two Oklahomas. So what they have there right now, and please
There's
correct me
actually
if
6
I'm wrong,
Oklahomas.
That's
is
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma along
Okay.
lot
And I said,
53.
it's their choice, you know.
Yeah, exactly,
As long
exactly.
as
So
it's
it's
not
solid fencing
So
along
first,
there,
so
lattice
it's
at the
lattice
top.
fencing.
just not that, it has to have some.
Excuse me. All right, so now I'll go to the rest of the members. If you have any additions, any questions, any comments? Ms. Bowen? Mr. Grasso?
No.
Mr. Castle?
I'm good.
Okay, and the one thing I don't think you added was the distance, you did add the distance.
I did add.
Okay, okay.
And just,
You,
we're talking with the Skirvitz, clearly delineate what's subject to the variance, because if he moves or take it down, you want to know exactly where you can go back, because, the variance
Right.
stays. So, you want to make sure that's really clear for your benefit.
Okay.
If I could just add a couple other things in this motion of what we're considering that weren't talked about, but I think we want to put in there too. Obviously, the fence is going to be or not obviously, constructed a minimum of 6 inches to 12 inches from the property lines along lots 55 and 53, the new fencing. And then if we want to address the prior approvals, my suggestion was to say that any prior approvals or permits are relinquished to the extent that they're inconsistent with this proposal being approved by the board.
Good?
Yeah.
And I would just throw in there that I do think it's more of a C1 because of the shape of the lot. That's the justification.
And you were,
I agree.
No, it's a
C1.
plan.
I made an alternate argument. Actually,
Well,
well, I'm a lawyer,
again,
I can
yes,
argue
I don't,
about it.
it's just, I don't like when lawyers try to,
They beat it into us.
to be testifying the plan. It's happened before, when we had the zoning board.
And of course, this will all be in accordance with working with Mr. Skirvitz and what he asked for, your updated plan and so forth, ought to be delivered before you're granted a permit. Okay. At this point, I think as we have it all spelled out,
So, I'll make a motion
motion to approve.
to approve the items the lawyer just mentioned relating to the style of fence, the location,
Screens.
and the screening. Screening both on Lee, Fenway, and Howland. And the screening to be selected by the zoning office.
Do I have a second?
And a new map will be submitted prior to,
Mr. Merman and Mr. Kastler.
Mr.
Roll call
Merman,
vote.
motion, Mr. Casper seconded. Mayor Mignon,
Yes,
Chairman Alfredo. I'm sorry, Chairman Kelly.
Yes.
Working off.
He's my assistant.
There we go. All right, that's what I need. All right, he's not here. Chairman Kelly, yes. Ms. Boland?
Yes.
Here, Mr. Merman.
yes.
My vice chairman.
Mr. Grasso.
Yes.
Mr. Rose not here, and Mr. Casper.
Yes.
Thank you so much, folks.
Thank you.
thank you for your
very
accommodation.
You have a unique location, that's why we spent so much time.
I call it weird. Unique is nice. Unique. Like
Still
weird.
unique.
It's in the MLUB. Yeah.
No, but I think we appreciate your willingness to work with us, so.
Well, thank you so much. Likewise, I really do appreciate it. And
We all want what's best for the town and for the homeowners.
Yes, I felt that what's best for me and what's best for the town. I felt that I really did. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, pleasure meeting you, sir. Hope to see you around town. We have a few carries real quick we can take care of.
Yeah, I think the only one I have, the original hearing on ILBJ was adjourned to the November 30th meeting. There's new notice and everything else was going to be required, but we did that the last meeting. Kang was adjourned to this evening, however, it's going to be adjourned further. I don't know to what. I don't know if we're prepared to decide that.
Well,
Take action on that, to table it or no?
Yeah,
And to where, because if we have to
we
announce.
arriving at the point where we're gonna make a decision on a go and no-go for November 30th, is that it?
no, we're talking about the other one.
No, we're talking about Kang right now.
So we're
They
going to have
haven't,
to.
they haven't resubmitted.
I said, I had recommended it goes back to the Historic Commission to update their disposition with regard to the
So
existing.
could you have Mr., I forget what his name is, our ex-attorney. Could you ask Brian to send a letter to the Historic
Yeah,
Commission, please?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Throw that back. Copy of the application should go there. These are my notes from last time, current position with regard.
Have a motion to table that application on Kang, which was, I think it's 3-something Kindercomack Road.
Kindercomack?
I don't have the
I don't have it with me.
All right,
application
well, just,
number.
it's the Kang application, and
Yep.
we can go from there.
And
you'll
we're
have to-
tabling it to the November 30th meeting?
No, that is just being tabled to the
December.
Okay.
December
Is it being
meeting,
tabled or
correct?
being continued?
Well, I was gonna say, so
Because
refresh my memory, do we
they're
have a
gonna-
notice?
If they're gonna
and a
amend their
hearing?
plan, then they're gonna have to start
Right.
fresh anyway, so.
Okay, so we're not talking about carrying a notice for a hearing that was scheduled previously.
I would, if they decide they're gonna come in with the original plan, but, that's.
All right, why don't we do this to be safe? Why don't we say, matter is tabled without further notice until the December meeting unless otherwise determined?
Yeah.
That way? So that would be
Motion on that?
December,
Mayor Mignone, second.
what's your, hold on, what's your December meeting date? My phone just died.
And what about,
December 14th.
Okay.
wow. Okay, now you have, if you're done with that one, what about six?
So let's just finish that.
Yeah.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. Go ahead.
620 Kindergarten.
That was, the state duty property.
You need an extension.
All right, so my notes there. I had a
Didn't they
question
pull
from
that back?
Cindy. She's coming on
There's no
November
paperwork yet.
9th.
All right, so let's extend that.
Is that Mr.
also.
Barrett? Well-
What would happen if we asked that applicant to submit a letter asking that it be extended to carry? Otherwise,
Well, they're gonna be,
So again-
they may be proffering a different application, so it's up to them. how
I
they
don't
want
believe
to
that
proceed.
application was ever deemed complete.
So that's the
Okay.
question. So the
no,
only
they
time we
gave
need,
testimony.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, they did, over my objection, I wanted.
Yeah, but I think that was open.
so we opened a public meeting? The only time we need to worry about saying
Yes,
on the
yes,
record that we're
yes.
carrying it without further notice if we
There was
opened
a
a public meeting.
meeting, the architect,
Mhm.
Scott Laurie gave testimony.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a motion to carry.
So same thing, we're gonna carry it to November 14th without further
December.
notice
December.
Sorry, December 14th. I know, I
Have a
can't believe
motion
it's
on that?
December. Again, without additional,
Mr.
notice.
Castleton wants to get it out.
So moved.
Okay,
Have a second.
second, I'll second. Now,
All in favor?
do we,
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay.
do we need a letter from him on that he agrees? Or
He's
how
not
do you-
here,
Huh?
he's not here. We're giving him the benefit of adjourning it without additional public notice until that December date unless it's otherwise determined
I
prior,
understand.
because they submitted an amended
I
application.
want to make sure Brian gets all of
We,
them.
we
That's been going on for
are going to notify him of that, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, those are the only two that I know
Boom, 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 well, the Johnson Avenue.
of. They haven't even come to
Right,
completion.
okay. So, with that said, do we really need a November 30th meeting?
Only if they come and they get, if they come back before the. site
Maybe,
plan
maybe
review.
Mr. Kukowski can call Mr. DeVito to see what the status of the revisions are, and then you need to take a poll, if there's gonna be a quorum anyway on the 30th, so.
Right.
I think that's-
Yeah, because that was when they wanted to come
Right,
back, and
they
that was when
wanted
we
to come
said we
back.
were carrying it to. Now, the only other issue there is, we announced in public that it was being carried to November 30th. If we don't have that meeting, maybe you could post it on the door, but the argument could be, and I'll leave that up to Brian, that they may have to renotice at that point, because you're not having a meeting, and that's when the notice was carried to.
Someone's gonna have to
That's
make a
right.
determination when they reapply, if it really is a reapplication, because, you know, it might have to be withdrawn and redone, depending on what they do.
Johnson Avenue?
Yeah.
No, I think it's an amendment.
I'll speak to Brian
It's
on
with an
that.
amendment.
Well, let's see what he's got.
All right, anything else? Anybody have anything else?
No.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
So move.
All have
Second by
happy
Ms. Bowen, all in
Thanksgiving.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained?
Oh, that was my
With the finger?
I used the non-ed one. This is the non-ed one, right?
Now they're both mine.
This is the bad boy?